मनीष हमने ब्रॉडकास्ट शुरू कर दिया ना?
We are live, sir.
Okay. So we'll start in next 1 minute. जुड़ जाना पड़ेगा. Should we start, Manish?
Yeah, Mudita ma'am has also joined us.
Okay. Welcome, madam.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Santosh Kumar Singh has also joined. Welcome, sir.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening,
Thank
sir.
you.
So good evening.
Now, we are starting. Manish, we are starting now. Manish?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Good evening, friends. I, on behalf of Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts, Buying Agents Association, and Carpet Export Promotion Council, welcome you all to today's virtual panel discussion on sourcing from handloom clusters of India. Handlooms form a precious part of the generation legacy and exemplify the richness and diversity of our culture and the artistry of the weavers. Tradition of weaving by hand is part of the country's cultural ethos. Handloom is unparalleled in its flexibility and versatility, permitting experimentation and encouraging innovation. The strength of handlooms lies in innovative design, which cannot be replicated by the powerloom sector. It was 7th August 1905 when leaders of the freedom movement like Aurobindo Ghosh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, and several others started a Swadeshi movement asking Indians to boycott all British products and use only those made in India. To commemorate this, it was decided in 2015 to observe August 17 as National Handloom Day every year. While celebrating the 6th National Handloom Day, the Honorable Minister of Textile, Srimati Smriti Irani ji, launched mobile apps for the weavers and also for the users, so as to enable handlooms to reach out to every nook and corner of the world. With these thoughts, we begin our discussions. To begin with, we have with us Ms. Mudita Mishra, Additional Development Commissioner, Handicrafts. Ms. Mishra is a civil servant of 2001 batch belonging to Defense Production Services, and she holds a management degree in finance from XLRI, and she's also B Electronics. Apart from, she's Additional Development Commissioner, Handicrafts, and also currently holding the post of Managing Director of National Handloom Development Corporation Limited. We also have with us Mr. Santosh Kumar Singh. He is Additional Development Commissioner, Handlooms. He is Indian Ordnance Factory Board 1996 batch officer, currently posted in Development Commissioner, Handlooms office as Additional Development Commissioner. We have with us Shri Ravi K. Pasi, Chairman EPCH, Shri TV Chandrasekharan, Chairman Handloom Export Promotion Council, Shri Rajkumar Malhotra, Vice Chairman EPCH, is going to join us. Shri Vishal Dhingra, he's Chairman of Buying Agents Association, is also with us. Mr. Rakesh Kumar, Director General EPCH, will also be joining us shortly. We have with us Shri R.K. Verma, Executive Director, EPCH, Mr. Sanjay Kumar, Executive Director, CEPC, and we also have with us Ms. Achal Kansal, who's General Secretary, Buying Agents Association. We welcome you all to the panel discussions that we are having today, and we've been joined by over 100 participants so far. In fact, we have registrations of over 350 who are going to join us over the course of the discussions. So we welcome you all. Now, to begin with, may I request Shri Ravi K. Pasi, Chairman EPCH, to deliver his welcome address. Then we move on with the discussions. Mr. Pasi.
Good evening, everybody. Mrs. Mudita Mishra, Additional Development Commissioner, Handicrafts.
Shri Santosh Kumar Singh, Additional Development Commissioner, Handlooms, Shri T.V. Chandrasekharan, Chairman, HEPC, Shri Vishal Dhingra, Chairman, Buying Agents Association, Shri R.K. Verma, Executive Director, EPCH, Shri Sanjay Kumar, Executive Director, CEPC, respected guests, friends from press and media. Today, we are celebrating the 6th National Handloom Day. It is important that handloom 2000 years old rich history, heritage and craftsmanship is promoted and continue, thus keeping the long tradition of producing the best of textile products from country. Any product to become successful requires its adoption by the young generation, and in order to do so, the use of handloom is promoted amongst the youth with products produced as per their taste and preferences, and also made available to them through marketing mediums like online platforms, so that they are readily available to them. We have with us today the eminent policymakers and buying representatives to deliberate on how to encourage scoring much the different cluster of the country, and as well as despite the problem being faced by the organized segment of the textile sector, there is a lot of scope for growth both domestically as well as in overseas markets. And I am confident that after today's discussion, we may be able to understand the perspective put forward by the policymakers as well as the buying community, and also encourage everyone to buy handlooms, at least one handloom product for every 5 others we buy help our 2000-year-old craft live. Now, I just want to say a few more things to my exporters also. जो आज मैंने सुबह से अपने कई फ्रेंड्स थे जो बड़े दिनों से और काफ़ी समय से 20-25 साल से इस हैंडलूम प्रोडक्ट के साथ जुड़े हुए थे, उनसे एक इंफॉर्मेशन जो मैंने उनसे ली है, तो उन्होंने बताया कि आज से 20 साल पहले कम से कम भी 50,000 वीवर्स जो हैंडलूम का सिर्फ काम करते थे, आज उनकी संख्या सिर्फ 8% के आसपास है। रीज़न क्या है? नंबर 1 कि लेबर महंगी हो गई, प्रोडक्शन नहीं ज़्यादा हो पाती। अगर कोई भी आदमी, कोई भी इंपोर्टर ऑर्डर देता है तो सामान उतने छोटे समय में बनाना बड़ा मुश्किल है। मगर मैंने एक जो चीज़ आज मेरे माइंड के अंदर आई कि आज हम बहुत सुनते हैं कि ऑर्गेनिक वेजिटेबल्स जिनकी काफ़ी चर्चा होती है मार्केट के अंदर, और उनकी जो प्राइस रेंज है 400%। अगर सपोज आप कोई भी टमाटर ले लो, नॉर्मल टमाटर इज 20 रुपीज़ किलो, ऑर्गेनिक का नाम आएगा तो वो लगा देंगे 200 रुपये। तो हम क्यों ना इस इंडस्ट्री को उस वे के ऊपर लेके जाएं कि ये प्रोडक्ट्स बाय हैंड 100% बाय हैंड हैंडलूम से वीवर ने इसको बनाया, और इसमें इतना समय लगा है, इसमें इतना खर्चा आया है। तो हम उस डायरेक्शन के अंदर अगर हम काम करें और इसकी अच्छी प्रॉपर तरीके से मार्केटिंग हो, क्योंकि कई बार ये भी सुनने में आया है कि कई संस्थाएं, कईयों को गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत पैसा दिया है जिनको एक सोसाइटी कहते हैं, सोसाइटी के अंदर पैसा असली जो वीवर्स हैं उनको नहीं जा पाता, वो बीच में ही कहीं ना कहीं इधर उधर हो जाता है, और जिसके अंदर ये हमारी जो हैंडलूम की इंडस्ट्री है वो काफ़ी स्लो डाउन हो गई है। और इसके अंदर हम चाहते हैं कि एक बड़े बड़े क्लस्टर्स भी बने जिसके अंदर ये हैंडलूम के लोग या लूम्स कम से कम मैक्सिमम से मैक्सिमम हम लगाएं, और उसके अंदर ही इसकी मार्केटिंग हो, उनको धागा वहीं से प्रोवाइड किया जाए। और इसमें एक क्लस्टर जो साउथ इंडिया में है, करूर के आसपास भी है, और दूसरा क्लस्टर जो यूपी में है, बिजनौर है, बाराबंकी है, और भी हैं इसके साथ, कि जहाँ पे इस हैंडलूम के काम की बढ़ोतरी हम बड़े अच्छे तरीके से आने वाले समय में कर सकते हैं अगर हम उसकी प्रॉपर तरीके से मार्केटिंग करें। जैसे कई बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी जिनके मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहता, दे ओनली बाय फ्रॉम these people गांव में जा के जैसे फैब इंडिया है या दूसरे और भी 5-6 कंपनीज हैं, गुड अर्थ है, ये सारे करते क्या है कि ये सारे इनको बुकिंग में लाते हैं कि ये प्रोडक्ट तुम हैंडलूम के लिए बनाओगे और इसकी मार्केटिंग और इसका प्लेटफॉर्म हम करेंगे, बट दे गेट ए लॉट ऑफ प्रॉफिट। जो प्रॉफिट हमारे व्यूवर्स को मिलना चाहिए वो इनको नहीं मिल पाता। तो बाकी सब यहाँ पे अभी आज ये प्रोग्राम जो शुरू हो रहा है उसके अंदर ये भी डिस्कशन होगा। तो इसी के साथ thank you so much, and we are going to discuss all these things right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for those encouraging words. Now, before we move on, we have with us Ms. Achal Kansal. She is General Secretary, Buying Agents Association, and we have a presentation by her, which gives you a brief overview what handlooms is all about and what has been the heritage which has been passed on from generation to generation for the last 2000 years. Ms. Achal Kansal.
Thank you, Rawatji. A very good evening to all the panelists and to all the participants that have joined us today. I would first like to take this opportunity to congratulate every and each member of the handloom industry on celebrating the 6th day of handlooms. It's the 6th time we are celebrating the Handlooms Day, which is a matter of great pride for us because we continue the heritage of India even now. When we talk about handlooms, the few words that come to my mind is heritage, culture, and versatility. We all know that handloom is one of the oldest and the largest cottage industry in India. In fact, references to handlooms have even been given in Mahabharata and Ramayana back in those eras, showing that this industry flourished in 5000 to 3000 BC when there was no modern tools and techniques. In the Indus Valley civilization also, handloom has had its own place, where we know that in ancient times, fabrics were being exported from India to Rome, Egypt, and China very proactively. And those were the major trade routes of India as well. Archaeologists have also found that Indian floral designs have been found on the sites of Mohenjo-daro. I mean, clearly stating that handlooms from India is not what we see of it as today. It dates back to civilizations we've only heard of, we've never seen. Modern handlooms as we know today also dates back some 2000 years ago, which was brought by the Romans to UK and probably brought by the UK to us Indians. We have such a rich cultural heritage of India, whereby we see handlooms being one of the major factors and industry of push for us. I share my presentation. Rawatji, can I share my presentation? Okay, thank you. So going through the presentation today, the first thing that today, when I started making and thinking about handlooms, the first point of reference we always have when we talk about handlooms, we think somewhere of khadi. And I just tried to figure out how are the two interrelated. So it was a fun fact for me at least that khadi is a handloom product, but when made out of hand spun yarn becomes khadi, and when made out of mill spun yarn, it becomes handloom. So for me, that was a very interesting fact that I got to know quite late, but yes, indeed, it was interesting to know that. Looking at what handlooms in India is all about, as I said, we have a rich heritage of handlooms in India, from the Pashmina work right in the north of India and Kashmir to Kanjivaram that is being done in the south, from Patola work that is being done in the west of India to Mizo Juan and other techniques that are being done in the east. Handloom covers a wide range of aspects with different weaves, exquisite arts, artistry, all across the entire geography of India. Today, I would like to discuss three major aspects of handloom. The first being, why should we source handlooms from India? Second being, where, when we talk about handlooms, where exactly should we source them? And lastly, to conclude, we would also like to see the issues that the industry is facing, which is where we need active intervention by the government of India to push this sector forward. Before we do that, we're going to talk about some interesting handloom facts of India. There are about 4.3 million people involved in handloom production in India as on today's date. It is the second largest employment provider to the rural economy, to the Indian economy, with being the largest provider to the rural economy of India. There are about 31.45 lakh handloom households that are busy in producing only handlooms. 87% of these are in rural areas, only 13% are from urban areas. And about 2.4 million looms that we have in India today, showing the vast capability that we have in terms of production of handlooms. In terms of production and exports, it is a mind-boggling fact to know that 95% of the global production of handloom happens in India. However, only 15% of the total cloth produced in India is coming from the handloom sector. So it is a stark contradiction that we see, that whereas we are great, we probably are the dominant force of the handloom sector, yet we've seen decline in handloom exports, despite the fact that there are no other economies who are doing this kind of a work. In terms of exports, financial year 2019 hit a mark of 343.69 million. It has dropped down from 353 million in financial year 18. In 20, till about November, it was 226. If we extrapolate the figures, we would only end up at around 300 million in financial year 20, which is a steep decline for exports in India. In terms of countries that are importing Indian handlooms, 1/3 of the entire produce is nearly going to one country alone, which is the United States of America, followed by UK, Italy, and Germany. Now, the question is, why should people around the world source handlooms out of India? Various reasons. As we initiated our discussion, we said about India being the most versatile country in terms of creativity and art. The kind of creativity that Indian artisans and craftsmen have, that is absolutely unbeatable around the world. We also know that a lot of other nations copy Indian art and mechanize the Indian art. So it is needless to say that we hold the key to any new product, which is the art of India. The second is the varied raw materials, starting from the cotton, which is obviously widely produced in India, to silk, khadi, jute, coir, so many varied raw materials that are available. And these raw materials done on handloom and made in the exquisite art of India obviously give a rich, rich look to the products that come out. Most important for us to note here is that India is a hub of sustainable materials, and these are being used, khadi, silk, all these are sustainable materials, and these are widely being used in handloom products. Customer today, world over, is looking for sustainable materials, is looking for eco-friendly products. This is where India has a very strong advantage. Then we have highly skilled artisans in India. You look at any embroidery, any craft, any work, the one thing that is absolutely required in handcraft is highly skilled labor force, which very few countries have. India happens to be one of the largest holder of skilled labor force for craft work. The next point being the flexibility of MOQ and customizations that an importer can get out of India. Unlike the other nations where customizations and MOQ tend to be a sticking point in buying more product out of the country, India has the ability to offer different kinds of MOQ depending upon the craft that is involved. And Indian exporters or Indian manufacturers are able to customize the product to the needs of the final consumer. And most importantly, we're talking about the emphasis that the government has given. Needless to say is that today is a stark evidence of the emphasis that the government has given to the handloom sector by celebrating the Handlooms Day. We've got the handloom brand of India, marking out exactly what products are handloom made, giving them an authentic feel and a seal from the government of India. The government of India has launched various plans for promoting handlooms in terms of financial, marketing, raw materials, and all the varied ways that are required for the handloom sector to succeed. Financially, they have the block level cluster projects in which there's a huge investment that has been done to give financial assistance to the weavers. On the marketing side, Indian government has been very, very proactive. There is a handloom marketing assistance scheme that has been launched. The government of India has been very, very bullish about e-commerce of the handloom products. The handloom brand has been created whereby products are being given the authenticity of being a handloom product. Then the yarn supply scheme has been launched to give the raw materials that the weavers require. There are various export promotion incentives and motivations that have been given by the government, where more incentives are being given to the different EPCs for recognizing and going to the shows abroad and showcasing the products. If you see, even only in 2016-17, there were some 16 odd international events that have been done, and this figure has been increasing year on year. In terms of welfare scheme, the government has also launched the Handloom Weavers Welfare Scheme, showing the emphasis of the government of India on the handloom sector. Now, the question arises as to where to source handlooms in India, and it is a very interesting part of handlooms in India, since we have a geography that spans from north to south regarding all the different weaves, the techniques, the craftsmanships from India. For a layman, it is difficult to figure out exactly which product is sourced from which place. The cluster approach has been very well followed by the government of India, creating clusters in different groups of places whereby an export community can look at establishing themselves, and the buying community can look at those clusters in terms of their focus areas for imports. If we start with India from the north cluster talks about Jammu and Kashmir, where we all know the Pashmina weaving comes from. Then we have the state of Haryana, Punjab, and Rajasthan, where Punjab weaving, which is done in carpets, is widely done in Panipat, Jaisalmer, and Barmer. Then we have Bandej and Leheria. Erstwhile, this is one of the most beautiful arts that have been used by Indian women in wearing the saris and the suits. But this traditional art has now been carried forward into made-ups, into garments for international customers, into cushions, into bed sheets, which is majorly being done in Jaipur, Jodhpur, Alwar, and Ajmer. Then we have Kota Doria work, commonly known as a Kota work, which is being done in Kaithun, Margol, and Siswal. Again, this is something that is more local in nature and not so much as export-oriented at the moment, at least. Then in Himachal Pradesh, we have the shawl, loi, topi, muffler cluster, where we have the famous topi coming from, the Sambal topi coming from. And Kullu, Manali, Sambal, Kinnaur, Chamba, all these are places where this is being made. Uttar Pradesh being one of the very important clusters of handlooms again, where different works, including brocade, jangla, tanchoi, cut work, and all these works are not only being included in the local products that we wear as Indians, but a lot of it is also being exported in terms of garments, in terms of made-ups of cushions, bed sheets, curtains. So cutwork technique is a very famous technique that is being used across the base in all fabric products that have been exported in terms of made-ups from India. And then we have the Badoi Mirzapur belt, which is the hub of the carpets and rugs, and also the hub of export in carpets and rugs from India. Taking to the northeast sector, we have Assam, where you have Sual Kuchi being done in Guwahati. Then we have Nagaland, where loin loom weaving is being done, and Mizoram, where Mizopan weaving is being done. The major cluster groups here obviously are Tenswal and Aizwal. Going down to the east, we have Odisha, where we have the Sambalpuri weave that is very famous, and the Korat weave also, Koraput weave, sorry. And in West Bengal, we have the Baluchri weaving, which is done exquisitely on silken fabrics. So we do silk carpets and we do silk saris. Some of it is exported in terms of carpets, and majorly it's been domestically used in saris. Going to the west, the major cluster is that in Gujarat, where we have patola weaving and mushroom weaving, and the major cluster city is Patan. And we have Maharashtra, where Paithani is done. There are a lot of products that are being done in India across these clusters, but right now I'm focusing more on the different weaves that these clusters are doing. Going towards central India, we have Madhya Pradesh, where the Maheshwari weaving is very famous, and Chanderi weaving. We all know Chanderi saris happen to be one of the most famous works across India for Indian women. And then we have Chhattisgarh, where we have the Kosa weaving being done. And Kosa work is also something that embroidery is being used in exports in terms of technique of work being done. Then we have South cluster, where on the east side we have Kerala, where coir work is very famous. Now with the coir work, I must say that this is one of the hubs which is very, very export oriented and has been doing huge amount of exports out of India. And then we have the Dari weaving in Warangal and Kothavad. Again, a hub for weaving of carpets and rugs, which is very famous for exports in India. And on the east side, we have Andhra Pradesh, where we have the Pochampalli weave and Mangalagiri weave, and Tamil Nadu, where we have the famous Kanjivaram saris coming in. Again, these kind of weaves are more traditional and intrinsic to the local domestic consumption in India, and not so much for exports. But a part of these techniques are always being taken by exporters or manufacturers in bringing out the products and adding style and versatility to the exported products. In terms of products, the handloom sector has been divided into four major categories. First being clothing, then fashion accessories, made-ups, and floor coverings. Now, clothing includes only the handloom saris or the handloom dress materials, dhoti, shirts, and trousers. Similarly, fashion accessories include in the handloom sector only the scarves, stoles, gloves, mittens, and handkerchiefs that are made by handloom process. Made-ups include bed linen, table linen, kitchen, and upholstery. And floor coverings, which consist of carpets, mats, and matting, they're obviously always majorly made by handloom in India. So this is one sector which has a strong emphasis on handlooms. Looking at the geography of India and looking at where exports are being done, this is where, as an exporter or as an importer, we look out for when we are looking to export products from India. For the clothing industry, it is Punjab, UP, MP, Rajasthan, Gujarat. And when I'm talking about these states, it's not like the entire state is involved in production of these exports. But in Jammu and Kashmir, it's the city of Kashmir or the state of Kashmir that is doing it. When we're talking about Haryana, Panipat happens to be a major exporter. When we're talking about Rajasthan, we all are aware that Jaipur and Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, these are the places where it is being done. Similarly, for Maharashtra, Mumbai and surrounding areas happen to be the major export hub. Going forward to our sector of fashion accessories. Fashion accessories majorly again are being done in Kashmir in terms of the shawls and stoles of Pashmina that we're exporting. In Punjab, where we have all the Amritsari and Ludhiana stoles and shawls that are being done. Then we have Delhi and NCR, which is a hub of all forms of embellished accessories. Rajasthan, majorly comprising of Jaipur, Jodhpur, Barmer, and Jaisalmer. And Uttar Pradesh, in terms of Varanasi and other small cities in Uttar Pradesh. Going ahead to the third category of made-ups. Made-ups, as we said, is essentially comprising of beddings, sheetings, kitchen linen, bath linen. And these are majorly being done in Delhi NCR as a major hub. Haryana, whereby it's majorly being done in Panipat. Rajasthan, again in Jaipur, Jodhpur. Mumbai, and Tamil Nadu in terms of Karur, LP, and all these places. Lastly, the floor covering sector, which is the rugs and the carpets that we're exporting out of India. In Kashmir, we have the silken carpets and the Kashmiri carpets, which are very famous. In Himachal Pradesh, we have Panipat, that is the most important carpet weaving and exporting city of India. I'm sorry, that is Haryana, that's not Himachal Pradesh. I've written that, in fact, that is wrongly written there. Apologies about that. In UP, we have Bhadoi and Mirzapur, which are the major floor coverings export sectors. And in Kerala, we have Alapi and other cities where we do a lot of coir and other natural fibers down south. Now, having been going through all what is possible out of India, it is important for us to analyze exactly why is it when we have such a rich heritage of products, when our entire geography from north to south is filled with different kind of artistic capability of our artisans, then why are we not able to do much, or there is restriction that is causing a negative impact on the handloom sector? To analyze this, first, we would like to see the export that has been done from India over the past 5 to 6 years. If you see the graph here, we've analyzed the exports on all 4 categories, but most importantly to see exports from India from 2013 to 2018 are consistently declining year on year. In 2019, our exports have further declined to 343 million USD, which clearly shows that there's a share of market that is moving away from India. Although we see in terms of fabrics, there was an upward trend till 2015-16, but again, we've seen a downward trend going on. In carpets, which happens to be one of the bigger areas of contribution to the handloom industry, we have a lot of improvement, yet we see a very unstable static trend of going up and down in the last 6 to 7 years. Similar is that of the made-ups. Made-ups is probably the only sector which has shown increase in the last few years. However, if we go by and see the 2013-14 figures, we are still nearly at the same level where we were 5 to 6 years back. If we analyze this in terms of the top 10 importing nations in terms of handloom imports, as I said, 1/3 of the entire exports of India is going to nearly one nation only, which is the US. And US is stagnant. In last year, in 2017-18, we did 93.1, but in 18-19, we've done 94.19. No significant growth, a 1% growth only. However, where there is a decline, there is a very sharp decline. And 7 out of the 10 countries that we've been exporting to have shown decline in terms of importing handlooms from India. Only 3 countries, US, Spain, and Australia, have shown an upward trend. It is very important for us to arrest this declining trend now before a larger market share goes out of India. To analyze exactly why this is happening, the first reason is the high production costs in terms of the products that are being produced in India. We know very well that Indian handloom sector is very unorganized. That is itself leading to high production costs where there is no streamline of the work that is being done by the sector. There is much lower productivity in this sector as compared to any other sector of India. Most importantly, which is causing the high production cost, is the reduction of the skilled labor force of the handloom sector. 2 major reasons. One, the people who are already skilled, they are moving away from this sector to the other sectors. And 2, the sector is not able to hold back the newer generations. The newer generations do not want to come into handloom weaving. And hence, we need to do something to arrest that migration. The second is lack of modernization. There is a technological backwardness that our handloom sector currently faces. We do not have very advanced machinery in terms of looms. And we need to do something to upgrade this process to be able to produce more and to be able to produce a little different breed of products than what we've done in the past. That also makes us come to the next point, which is changing consumer preferences. Consumer today demands a lot different than what they did a few years back. We are in a very fast moving consumer goods environment whereby consumer today requires something absolutely different from what consumer required a few years back. In terms of novelty of design, although our craftsmen are very versatile, but the kind of designs that are coming year on year are not the designs that are very, very different from different years that they are producing. We need to invest a lot in terms of design capability and researching into new techniques of bringing in newness to the sector now. Working capital issues happens to be another major constraint to this, where credit is not very easily available, despite the fact that the government of India has done a lot to provide the credit to the weavers, yet it is not reaching the ground level weaver. Increased competition, and we have a two-way competition. We have a competition from the power looms of India that is taking away quite a chunk of the handloom sector. We also have competition with the other neighboring countries of India like Bangladesh, Pakistan, where more and more production is getting outsourced and cutting down from India. Lastly, lack of training. We still are working based old age techniques, old age working methods, and there is very little training that is being given to upgrade the skill of the artisan. As we initiated, we said that there is a high production cost because the artisan is migrating. Today, when the artisan is migrating, we need to train the new manpower to be able to take up this responsibility to take this sector ahead. And that is all from my side in terms of issues faced. I would now like to invite Sanjay Ji from CEPC to share his thoughts on the carpet sector.
Thank you, Anshul. Thank you very much.
One sec, please.
Sanjay Ji, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself. You're muted.
Thank you, Ms. Anchal. First of all, I would like to greet my panelists, Ms. Mudita Misra, ADC, Santosh Kumar Singh, ADC Handloom, Ravi Pasi Sahab and TV Chansekar Sahab, both are chairman of EPCH and HEPC. Vishal Dhingra Sahab, President BA, and Rajesh Rawatji, Burma Sahab, and Mr. Manish. And my esteemed participants, doyen of the industry. Basically, I have just, I would like to highlight how carpet sector is involved in handloom. And you can see the graph, just this is a glimpse of the export turnover for last 5 years and the share of the market. So we were consistently growing, but last year, our figure has gone down a little bit. And the major market is the US for the carpet sector, followed by EU and the rest of the world. Next. Next, please. See, in this slide, just I have analyzed, figure of last 3 years. As Achalji already conveyed us that carpet and other floor covering share in the handloom is major share, you can say. The figure is showing 1/3 of the total handloom export is covered by the carpet and other floor covering. So almost 700 crores exports, 776 crore export was of the last year. Earlier, last year it was a little bit high, 821. But in the share of percentage, it is coming almost 7% only. Sorry, the growth rate is 7%, 6.5% from the preceding year. So what is happening in the sector? I wanted to take you the background of the sector of handloom sector. Although Ms. Anchal has already covered, we had the rich tradition historically. In fact, in 17th century, the 83% of the export of East India Company was from the textile and clothing sector. So here, and we have started our rich tradition of handloom since Indus Valley civilization, followed by the Britishers and the Mughals also. Next slide. although Ms. Achal has elaborated in detail about the clusters of the handloom clusters. So in the carpet and hand floor covering, these are the major states, Haryana, UP, Himachal, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, where different kind of handloom products are produced. And the export is also going from there. Majors are the flat weave dari and woolen dari, cotton dari, recycled yarn dari also. There are the daris also made from the sari, old sari, and woolen carpet and cotton carpet also. So I will not go in detail here. Next. These are just some of the pics of the handloom products from flat weave, dari from Mirzapur and Fatehpur Sikri, Panipat. Next, please. Yeah, this slide is very important. What Ms. Achal has already said, issue faced by the handloom sector. So now the question is how we can improve this sector in better way. We have jotted down some of the points. Basically, handloom sector, and in fact, carpet sector as a whole, are almost unorganized sector, you can say. The first intervention what we require from the government also, we have to recognize and develop the organized carpet cluster. Carpet that include handloom cluster also. So we have to focus on that. And in fact, our Honorable Minister, go to the slide. Honorable Minister has already taken the initiative to form a cluster. In fact, in UP also, recently last week there was in news that they are going to set up 3 clusters at least in UP. So this is a very good move, and Carpet Council is fully supporting that. We have already written the letter to Honorable Minister also. Apart from this, the intervention required for the common facility center. What is happening? People are very small. They can't afford the facility, for their industry. So we have to develop this common facility center, testing and design center. These 3 are the major intervention required. And we have to also incentivize the R&D. R&D, some of the companies are already doing their own. So we have to assist them regarding the development of R&D and support of the innovation. And last word is exposure of the artisans. What is required? Our artisans should be also given the exposure. In fact, recently in the this year only, we have taken the artisans to Domotex Fair, Germany, and really it was very much fruitful exercise. And we have developed a pavilion there, and our artisans were doing the live demonstration there. So this kind of, in fact, EPCH is also doing, and we should do together regarding the exposure of the artisans. Next point, what we have to do regarding the brand promotion. This is very essential part. Unless and until you are doing the brand promotion, you can't achieve the goal, achieve the target, bigger target in fact. वो कहा जाता है कि जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. तो इसके लिए हमें जो है ब्रांड प्रमोशन को बहुत से स्ट्रेंथन करना पड़ेगा. And we have to develop the market development for the handloom product, like the e-commerce channel, and how it comes to the aggregate. That is the major challenge. In fact, our artisans are producing. If we are thinking about the e-commerce, the major challenge will be for the aggregation. So we have to think in that mode also. And next point, important point is the inclusion in GI product. We have already, in fact, government is also putting a thrust on for the development and promotion of the GI product. In carpet sector, we are having 7 products registered as a GI. And we have already taken the initiative. We have requested the Office of the Development Commissioner Handicraft and submitted a proposal for another product. So this will give a different direction for the entire sector. In fact, And government should also, we have already proposed to DIPP also, that there should be some incentive, extra incentive for the GI product, so that people will be inclined towards that. And GI should be promoted not only in India, worldwide promotions is required. And we are also in the process of organizing a national symposium very soon for especially for the GI product, and a virtual event also. Next thing regarding the traditional knowledge, how we can sustain and strengthen the traditional knowledge, it is very much required. In JNK, people are using that different language that is called Talim. And, in other part also, they are doing, so this kind of knowledge is required for the preservation. It should be preserved properly, so that it should not die. In fact, I visited JNK. They are trying to preserve those things. So we have to give the support for that. And the major part is the skill development training. This is the, unless and until we are having the skilled workforce, we can't expect something which is, take to the another level. So this is and we have to develop the capability of the weavers also, so that our output and productivity level should go up. The last point I want to highlight regarding the promotion of textile tour to handloom weaving centers in collaboration of the Ministry of Tourism. Like Ministry of Tourism is doing the incredible India. We should also chip in with them, and we can plan something so that our products should be promoted throughout the India and the world. So this was my submission from the carpet sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Rawat ji.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you, Achal ji. Thank you very much for those insightful presentations. Now we have the presentations done. Now we have a panel discussion wherein I would request Achal ji to start the discussion. We'll go one by one to each and every panelist, and we would ask them to share their thoughts on what is being said on the presentation. And also we have got some questions pertaining to their domain to be asked from them. So Achal ji, you can start the discussion. Thank you.
Since we have a few questions being asked, if anybody wants to ask any questions, you can put it in the Q&A section and we can take them up after our panel discussion. Mudita ji, our first question is going to be with you. May I ask you to unmute yourself, ma'am, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, you can also share your thought on what is being said, and then you can also answer the question, both the things.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, ma'am, what we would like to help you share with us is that there have been major interventions that I'm sure have been undertaken by the National Handloom Development Corporation to lift the handloom sector. What are those major interventions? If you could guide us through what you've done. Also, most importantly, we'd like to know, is the NHDC doing anything to make sure that the raw material for handloom weaving is available to the weavers at their doorsteps? And my third request to you would be, are you doing anything, is the sector doing anything in terms of developing new yarns and new products that are required by the weavers and to the end customer? As I was saying earlier in my presentation, there is a deep need for changing trends, for figuring out new methodologies, new yarns, new technologies. So what is being done on those ends, please? Over to you.
Thank you, Achal ji. Good evening to all our esteemed panelists and all our associate guests who are there today. As I heard from the chairman also of EPCH, Achal ji, and our previous panelist, Sanjay ji, there is an underlying one thing that I'll come to it one by one. the issue that especially Achalji, the presentation that you gave was really very incisive. And it puts across very clear points what is happening to our handloom sector and vice versa, the handicraft sector equally.
Right.
Handloom, as you said, is either stagnant or is going down in certain segments. Yet, our legacy says we were world leaders. We were cotton leaders. And today, if we have to beg before the world that you go ahead and buy, that itself is a telling comment on us. And I think all our buying agents, as both import and exporters, both sides, they have to put a holding hand for the sector.
Correct. Correct.
2 points that were relevant that I would highlight. One, the need of the hour is definitely change. That could be in terms of design, in terms of product categorization.
Mm-hmm.
However, the raw material for any handicraft or handloom will, if you want it sustainable and organic, it will always remain very basic. It will remain cotton, it will remain silk, it will remain jute. The minute you blend, it's no more handloom.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
We need blended products, that is required on a different footing. But handloom means handmade, organically grown. So that needs to be preserved and spread.
Right.
Equally, when we say our production costs are high, our artisan or the weaver is not able to provide that many products immediately as maybe the order required. So there has to be the logistical indent making to the artisan or the weaver and the buying. That cycle has to be matched and synced.
Correct.
Because a weaver or a artisan will, if it is handmade, it will take the same time. We can increase a little bit. Incremental growths will definitely be there, but it can never be a factory production.
Right.
So there we need to improve, however, keeping the handmade and the handloom tag preserved.
Absolutely.
So the inventory management cycle has to be very good, and we have to put in a lot of effort with the artisan or the weaver. So these are 2 things that I wanted to highlight. Third thing was one thing that you said that it is going down.
Mm-hmm.
And over the countries spread that the exports are going down or their imports are going down.
Yeah, from India.
We need to have an analysis. What are they substituting that import with?
Right.
So the minute we know that, we can go ahead and, of course, increase our potential and also arrest that trend.
Correct.
With that small thing on review on the previous talk, you asked about NHDC, what it has done, special interventions. National Handloom Development Corporation, of course, under the guidance of Honorable MOT, the Secretary, the Office of DC Handlooms, has been guided for doing quite a few interventions. Especially, it is at the forefront of giving the yarn supply to the weavers at their doorstep from the beginning, along with subsidy, which is in a direct benefit mode.
Okay.
So that DBT takes place to the weaver itself. Also, the yarn, how it is increased is that we have opened warehouses in each of the states. At least one warehouse is there in every state, along with depots which are allotted to weavers for their consumptions. So, so that it actually reaches to the weaver in a very smooth manner. And it is to the credit of NHDC that even during this pandemic, after the lockdown started lifting up, all the regional offices have made special efforts that the yarn supply, whatever required by the weavers, does not get interrupted.
Right.
And that has been a major contribution during this period.
Brilliant.
Also, as it was told even today in our Honorable Minister's speech, and it is there otherwise also, that our eDhaga app, which is a procurement app on your mobiles, it has almost helped in procurement of yarn worth almost 250 plus crores through the transactions done through the app itself. That is something we need to promote more.
Right.
Because that is at the touch of a button, at the touch of a finger on the mobile.
Right.
Further, we have also, although the range with NHDC is very wide, but as I said, it is the organic handlooms yarns, that is cotton, silk, jute, which we are providing. However, there is definitely room for improvement, and it is trying its level best to improve it on that on those issues. We also have a very active helpline which runs for the weavers so that they can raise their queries on any of the schemes or any issues regarding the weaving or the yarn supply.
Okay.
So that is the basic things about NHDC. Of course, with that, I would also like to request all our panelists and all our members who are associated that as our Honorable PM and Honorable Minister of Textile, Madam has given the call for the social campaign, Vocal for Handmade, to be spread as much as possible so that the awareness for this grows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Taji. Indeed, it is interesting to see what all is being done at different levels to promote this sector. Thank you so much for your intervention on this. I would like to take up my next question with Mr. Santosh Kumar Singh, please. Santoshi, if you could unmute yourself.
Yeah, please.
Santoshi, today we are celebrating our 6th National Handloom Day. And since 2015, there have been many initiatives that have been taken by the Government of India to promote and propagate the usage of handlooms in India and overseas. We would like to know from you, what has been achieved in these 5 years and what do you think is needed, or what is it that you're currently working on to push forward the handloom sector?
Good evening, everybody. 2 years in handlooms, rather in the office of DC Handlooms, and I am still a layman. I hold no special ability to be part of this panel, but thank you all the same, for inviting me to be the part of this panel. For if I contribute nothing, at least I learn something. Through the office of DC Handlooms, we run certain tailor-made schemes, which have run through the years. There have been modifications ever since the new government came from 2015 that includes these mega clusters, then welfare schemes, then NHDP, marketing and DLC, yarn supply scheme, which ADC Handicraft so well explained to you all. And I find that in terms of inputs, I have precious little to add to what Mr. Achal already had told you.
Santoshi, we've kind of lost your voice a little bit here.
In terms of
It's okay.
what I have to give in terms of inputs, I think there is precious little which I can add to what Mr. Achal Kansal has already told you. So I'll be concentrating only on the things which interest me as a layman, which I told I am at the very beginning of my exposition. The thing, if you try to come out of the fact that handloom happens to be an art, an item of beauty, which one wants to have in one's life. It is not a soap or oil, which is an essential commodity which you must have. So in those terms, we need to lure people as to how they can be lured into buying handlooms. And the exports remains that particular part of luring people towards the product. Regarding the different limitations or the constraints which the sector is facing, as Ms. Kajal has already told, it is with regard to not having enough exports. There is no dearth of creativity, but marketing skills are missing. Marketing skills are not adequate. Then in terms of technology, it is poorly harnessed in favor of the weavers. And regarding the scalability aspect. So whatever we have been doing so far with regard to our running our traditional skills, which is mega cluster, weaver welfare, and NSDP marketing, those have run their life. And under the guidance of Honorable Minister of Textiles and Secretary Textiles, Ravi Kapoor, we are trying to learn the tricks of the trade in a new way, entirely new way rather. What we are trying to do is to take the weaver out of the clutch of the master weavers. It is easier said than done. There are two ways to look at it. We can harness the potential of the master weavers. We can go to them and tell them to be benevolent towards their weavers. Make a cooperative out of it and then run like a business where everybody is a good stakeholder and they share the profit of the entire enterprise. Unfortunately, this benevolence we lack at the grassroots level itself. So what the government is trying to do, it is trying to create avenues for the individual weaver to be part of the process where they can empower themselves. So the first thing which has happened, and I hope it runs well, which is in terms of inviting weavers to be onboarded on the GEM portal. Second, to aggregate themselves in terms of producer companies. If they happen to integrate themselves in under producer company, it is being formed in handicraft also. Our MD NSDC is ADC handicraft also. So she is also doing the same thing for handicraft, which we are doing for the handlooms. And we are doing certain things to make the sector visible in the eyes of others. So we are trying to make certain design and resource centers which will be showcasing our products and everybody will be invited there. So the big social media campaign which has been launched today by the Prime Minister himself, it is all the part of the process to make handloom visible. So if it is inviting tweets to the tune of hundreds of crores, it has already crossed hundred crore, which I am surprised to know myself. So if they are crossing to that particular level, that means so many people are being made aware about the product of which are being sold by handloom. And in that particular fashion, I don't think anything which has so far been done since 2015, it remains, जिसको बोलते हैं कि नींव रखना, it remains that particular brick which is lying under the sand or the soil. And we are trying to build upon that tradition which has over the years been with us and trying to promote it in new ways. So not talking in terms of data, in terms of how much money we have sunk in the business, how much money we have distributed to the weavers and what all we have done for the sector. I think the new age world has got its new demands and we have to respond in new ways. So basic problem which remains with the weaver, with all of us, is with regard to the ambitious nature of the business and lack of ambition in the weaver. Any business will not survive or succeed without ambition. And I must tell, our weavers are very satisfied people. They are ready to run their homes on a pittance, even if they can earn crores. So there remains the actual part of the problem which is required to be resolved. How to instill ambition in them and how to give them ambition through training. Training doesn't have to be only in terms of technique, in terms of design, in terms of the product, but it also has to be in terms of the attitude. And if that attitude we are not able to impart to the weaver, he will never become an entrepreneur. He will never stand for himself. He will keep getting exploited. Until such time, the potential will be limited to certain people who are representing them and who are exporting to the others. They have got उनका गोदाम full हो गया, तो उसके beyond उनको interest नहीं है. Individual capacity सारे weaver अपने घर में भी रखेंगे तो घर भरा रहेगा. लेकिन individual लोग जो represent कर रहे हैं, वो लोग उनका अगर गोदाम भर गया तो they will ask for nothing more. Because they have got enough for the year, so they will not bother to promote handlooms further for that particular year. So there lies the actual challenge. How to educate people to be ambitious, how to educate people to stand for themselves. I just don't know how that is going to happen. So we all, rather than what we have achieved till date, we must all be thinking in terms of how we are going to promote them in terms of their capabilities. And one reason why people are running to other sectors is because this is a hard skill to learn, being passed by tradition from one generation to the other. And if somebody is getting in Manrega money out of nothing, why he will work hard for handlooms? So that element of pride and ambition, I repeat, pride and ambition has to be part of our training. Otherwise, the handloom business is difficult to survive. So I just don't know whether I have answered your questions or raised more. But this is where we stand. Everything will come with that. Even our scalability aspect, that MOQ aspect. And along with this, I am forgetting one thing. Sorry, I'm not being coherent. The digital literacy. The digital literacy is a great challenge in today's age. And this is becoming an issue because when we tell that we are going to onboard weavers on the GEM, then they need to be trained about how to market their product, how to be market savvy or bank savvy so that they can receive in their money in their banks, how they have to package their products. And some of the things are being done by Ministry of Rural Development and DPIIT to develop those abilities in different entrepreneurs and weavers. What I find surprising is several of the departments have been working for handlooms, but those efforts are in isolation, and there is precious little coordination between different parts or different bodies of the government towards a common cause. That is required to be coordinated.
I would totally agree with you.
Yeah, so you have answered everything. I think you have hit the nail on its head.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is it. That is all I had to share with you all.
Santosh sir, you were not incoherent at all actually. So the other way around, if I would say.
In fact, for being somebody who felt he could not contribute, the kind of sharpshooting questions you've thrown to everybody on the panel today,
100%.
it's really food for thought. It's really food for thought. So thank you so much. I think this requires definitely far more deliberation than just a small session like this.
So I apologize if I have overshot my time. But
No, we're happy to hear such thoughts.
You can take my time also. Since I had to speak something, I would give you that time, and I would actually feel honored. I would actually feel honored if you actually spoke on our behalf, and obviously behalf of the weavers.
Really. Thought-provoking idea, Mr. Singh, I would say definitely a lot to think of for all of us to challenge, to say, हम ये कर सकते हैं, हम वो कर सकते हैं, but कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमें करनी चाहिए और हम नहीं करते हैं. So we really must put in collective efforts. It's the need of the hour. Handloom industry is no different from any other industry. Collective effort is the only way to go forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh. I would now move on to my third panelist, Mr. Chandrasekharan. If you could please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Mr. Chandrasekharan, my question to you would be more pertaining to the pandemic that has currently hit us. And I would like to ask you as to how or if you feel that this pandemic has actually hit the handloom sector. And if it has, then how do you think the sector can come out of this entire situation in the future? And what are the interventions that we need to further strengthen the existing handloom ecosystem in India?
Hello. Good evening, panelists and others. Actually, handloom sector indeed has been badly affected by this pandemic. I think it's the same for every other sector also. However, we have been taking extra steps to alleviate their problems. We have tried to handhold them to become exporters. We have also given them a big platform in the ITSF fair that has been launched today by HEPC. More than 50% of the participants in this ITSF fair by HEPC are weavers themselves or their societies. We are strategizing to place the handloom products in the niche category. We are encouraging our weavers not to compete on quantity, but on the quality and design, which are irreplaceable in autolooms. We are also planning to run a campaign to change the mindset of the people and bring in the idea that owning a piece of handloom fabric, be it a shawl or dress or even handkerchief, as a pride. The interventions required are, like I said earlier, the first one, changing the mindset of weaver from quantity to quality, avoiding any product which can be easily made in powerloom. Then second one, changing the mindset of people and owning handloom with pride. Third one, improving wages and income by directly connecting them to world market. Fourth one, providing skill training with collaboration from respective state governments. So I hope very much that by these steps, we can strengthen the existing handlooms. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekharan. It was indeed very short, crisp, and very well pointed out. Thank you so much for your information on this. I would now go on to my fourth panelist, to Mr. Vishal Dhingra. Vishalji, would you unmute yourself? I personally know you are a champion of the younger generation. You've been leading and promoting the younger generation to come forward and take the lead. Now, my question to you also pertains to a similar thing, saying young leaders and companies are emerging in the handloom sector today. They have made a remarkable business venture in this field, but because of the fact that this industry is so hugely unorganized, they are not able to penetrate much in the market. How would you suggest them to move forward and plan?
Well, basically, good evening to all my panelists and Jai Hind. And all the members who are watching the show today. Such an intelligent conversation by Mudita ji and Santosh Kumar ji. I really don't have much to say here, but all I would say is, how do we tell our younger generation to take the handloom, the weaver, their efforts forward? What Santosh ji said earlier, that the government was working on empowering the weaver and telling them they have room to grow. They should have more, say the killer instinct, which our weavers lack. Right, Santosh sir? They are very, very satisfied at their homes. I have learned weaving way back in 1981 to 84, personally myself. I really enjoyed it when I actually learned how to set up a loom, how to put up the warp. Obviously, the weft comes later. You have to start with the warp. I have lived with them. We used to start at 4 in the morning trying to set up a warp. So that process of a weaver, we have to appreciate their effort. We have to. They usually sang songs in the morning. They used to cook in the morning. That is how they set up a loom. Once we understand the process on how to make the younger generation sell India overseas, we need to repackage the whole story of the weaver and their efforts and rebrand. We go and buy a Gucci, we go and buy a Gucci print, we do these, we go and wear a polo shirt. That is nothing. All machine made, purely branding. We have failed in branding in the past 70 years. We look towards the West over the past 70 years. We inherited the handloom from Mahatma Gandhi, nobody else, but from Mahatma Gandhi, when he gave us the charkha. And we need to basically rebrand. I know Ravi Kapoor ji, Santosh ji just referred, and I have been following him since he came on board, sir. And I believe the government of India is in the 100% right direction. Just the new generation has to only, as we usually do for handicrafts also, all my co-panelists would agree, we give a romance card, as we call it, to sell a certain handicraft product. How was it made? Where was it made? And then it all goes and sell. It goes as a tag on the product. We sell a sari in India. We put a tag. We should do that. We should respect our own people who work for us, the weavers. We have failed in branding as a country. And that is what I think the new generation should do. And the government of India is obviously doing the right thing under the new Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. We have never done it. Mr. Santosh Kumar, what he must have said, I believe, has trickled down right from the top, down to what he's actually sharing with us here. It's not his only thought process alone. It has obviously trickled right from the top, down to Mr. Ravi Kapoor, down to the Minister of Textiles, and down right here. And Murtaza ji would also agree, I believe that is what the government of India is trying to do. But there's a problem, there's a catch, as he also just said. You have a Manrega on one side where people don't have to work and still get money, and the other side you have to put in the effort. And during the day, we were talking to Sanjay Kumar ji from the CEPC. He was talking about the art, the Urdu word you use, sir, talim, which goes along with every loom, because every loom is actually set up in a different manner. We have to learn and respect the weaver and sell that to the world. That is how we can grow India in this area. Sorry, I overshot my time, but I've been thinking for almost like 2 days we have been thinking.
No, this is actually very true. One of the things that I would say that the younger generation actually is in a position to do very well is branding. I mean, we all belong to a much more advanced education, lot more exposure, lot more technology, everything. We're equipped. We're all equipped right now. So branding definitely is the way forward when we get stuck. I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for that thought.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you.
My next question is to Mr. Verma. Mr. Verma, would you please unmute yourself? Verma ji, mute. Haan ji, ho gaya. Thank you, Verma ji. Verma ji, again, my question regarding COVID times only, to say there are challenges that are going on right now. And obviously, aaj we cannot go and sell. Our exporters can't go and sell. So how do we tackle these marketing challenges in the current COVID times? Also, what are the best practices Indians should adopt to overcome the marketing challenges they are currently facing? My second question to you also, I will put it forward right now, is if you could also share your experience on how to protect the designs and copyrights of the products that are being produced in the country, because it is always a matter of concern where we see some design being made and then 20 other people copying the same. And then there is no newness to the product that India on the whole offers. Verma ji, over to you, please.
Okay. Good evening to all panelists, and particularly the participant who joined this very detailed and elaborated presentation given by Achal ji. So your first question is regarding this marketing. I think during COVID-19, it's a compel all of us to keep the distance. So physical distance is mandatory. So now option is available only the virtual. I think recently EPCH concluded almost 3 exhibitions on the virtual fair, through which around say 1800 Indian exporters of handicrafts have done their marketing or product selling through the virtual platform. And over 4,100 buyers from all over the world, more than 108 countries, they have virtually visited our exhibitions and interact with the participants. So when physical is not possible, the virtual is the only, you can say, there can be the option available to the not only the handicraft, handloom and other sector also, because that is the only options right now. I think Mr. Vishal has given a very to the point suggestions, particularly the how to create awareness about the handloom products. No doubt, machine-made products do not have any emotional feeling, but when you buy a handmade products, you have some feeling. So some story along with the product should be there, which can create the interest of the consumer. And he will feel a satisfaction that, oh, I buy these products and my whatever I'm buying, paying is going to the consumer, that producer. So a satisfaction to the consumer will be there. So a story should be there along with the products. I think Mr. Vishal has given young generation to be motivated to use this handloom products. So products should be as per their taste, because young generation definitely need the different fabrics and different designs. So products should be modified according to they are your best ambassador, and they can sell your more products if once they try to use your products. So this is I think virtual is the only, and Mr. Vishal given 2-3 points already, young generation, story, and regarding already launched 2-3 mobile applications. One is Handloom Viewer app, and other was the customer app. Customer app is the same, which I am telling that a customer can know, can easily understand from which this product is supplied. Also, my handloom web portal is launched by the honorable ministers. So these are 2-3 things. So digital is the only options right now, at least coming in the 6 or 7 months till we come to the physical one-to-one meeting and others. So that is the only options. Regarding your second question, design protection. Again, I would like to inform that recently, I think on 17th of April, EPCH launched its own design register for the benefit of the members to protect their designs. So the members, those are creating their own designs, they can register themselves on our web design register, and they can protect. If anytime any dispute is there, then the dispute can be settled. Who is the basically owner of the designer? So that type of the benefit our members are availing. So same can be introduced for the handloom products also, because design is the main essence of any products. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And for the benefit of all the participants, Manish has also put in the link to the design register on the chat. If you would like to know more about it, you can review that. And very well pointed out, Vermaji, definitely digital is the way to go. In fact, today when you log on to Instagram and LinkedIn, you see people you've never seen before. Everybody now has an active LinkedIn account, active Instagram account, active Twitter account, and they're trying to reach out through all digital means and digital media. And that is the need of the hour today, because we don't know when the next virus is coming. So we might as well be prepped up now. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for this. My next question to Sanjay Ji from CEPC. Sanjay Ji, if you could unmute yourself. I think you're already unmuted. Thank you. What are the prospects of handloom daris and carpets as far as exports is concerned? And what is being currently been done by the CEPC to promote their exports, Sanjay ji?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Achalji, as you have rightly mentioned, regarding the dari and carpet of handloom, we are already having the substantial share, 1/3. And basically, we are promoting all the handmade product, either floor carpet and other floor covering also. Dari is the part of that floor covering. And you can see, like in 7 GI product also, 3 are dari. Okay. And one question was also asked by one of the participants. What are the product registered under the GI also? So I would like to just answer together. 7 product has been registered: Bhadoi carpet, Kashmir carpet, Mirzapur dari, Agra dari, Nawalgund dari, Warangal dari, and Gazipur wall hanging. Okay. And after that, we have already put a request for inclusion of the 10 more product. That is Jaipur handmade carpet, Jodhpur handmade dari, Sitapur handmade dari, Panipat handmade carpet, Agra handmade carpet. Dari has been already registered. Firozabad Sanel dari, Tonk Namda floor covering, Amritsar handmade carpet, Jaipur stone was dari, and Ladakhi handmade carpet. See, our intention is, as you are aware, that India, in every corner, people have some special, characteristic of the product: handmade carpet, handmade dari, and handloom, all these things. So CEPC is quite instrumental regarding the promotion of the product, all over the world, and we are the world leader regarding handmade carpet and dari. 1/3 of the world export is going from India. Of course, during the COVID period, everybody is stuck up. So CEPC is constantly trying to put up. In fact, in this month only, we have our virtual exhibition, 21st to 25th of the August. And we have, as of now, more than 200 buyers has been registered, and almost 200 exhibitors are already on the board. So we are promoting this product in big way. As I told you during my presentation also, apart from showcasing the product, we are also keeping a theme pavilion, live demonstration, so that people can understand, they can make the difference between the machine made and the handmade. Okay, for making a handmade carpet, handmade dari, how much time it takes, and what are the process, different process. There are 24 process for making a carpet or dari. So we are trying to make them understand, and basically there is one answer, that is marketing, and marketing. And we have to find out the means of the marketing, how we are going. In the management term, it says, if you are selling a comb to a bald person, you are a very good marketeer. So here we have the stuff, just we have to showcase, we have to sell ourselves. Okay, these are the product, these are the having a story is definitely one of the remarkable thing. Every product should tell their story. People should tell their story, how it is and from where it is. In fact, if they will be able to see sell them the complete story, starting from the the product, fiber itself, fiber to fabric, then then this is going to be one of the best way to sell the product. So definitely we are putting the marketing effort. We are constantly connecting with our buyers also. During the COVID period also, I am really thankful to Honorable Minister. She has extended her visit and message, and we have sent her message to all the buyers. In fact, BA President Ms. Christine has also sent her message to all the buyers. So we are connecting our buyers and we are in constant touch. And thankfully, I would like to share with you, people were very much afraid that many order is going to be cancelled. That couldn't happen because they also understood the situation. They are also in the similar situation. So basically, marketing effort is the only solution to take forward. And we don't want to repeat. We have already mentioned what are the tools we have to use for that. So these are the submission from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay ji. Truly said, marketing, and more marketing is the need of the hour, totally and completely. And as you were talking, somebody pointed this out also, that we need to tell the story of shawls. So somebody just said that we need to tell the story of the weavers and the shawls, and that is only going to be possible once we do more marketing. And that's a fact of our current business ethics. That brings us to a close on the panel discussion. Rawatji?
Actually, there are some questions. If we can take few of them before we ask Mr. Dhingra to give the vote of thanks. Sure. So just have a look at those questions. If you can just have one or two questions which are good ones.
Sure.
Because we are running short of time actually to wind this up.
Done.
Rohini Suri, can I just answer one? Rohini Suri ji has asked one question regarding the GI tag. So definitely, who are the GI authorized user? We are promoting them. We are requesting them to put your GI tag whenever you are doing your marketing thing. In fact, this is so also we have the separate GI pavilion also, and all the GI product will be shown there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
So we have a few questions and interesting ones, and I would like to take them up. Mamta Jain is saying to all the panelists, CSR is very generic. How about handloom CSR? So would anybody on the panel like to take this question up about the handloom CSR?
Santosh ji.
Santosh ji, may I ask you to take this up, please?
There are different industries doing some CSR in the field, but we have got no specific feedback on that particular thing in what is Reliance doing or what is Raymond's doing or what is Welspun doing. There is some aspect of that particular thing being done, and that is so interweaved with their actual activities in the field. Those are business activities and CR activities are so mixed with each other. It is difficult to quantify what is CSR and what is actual business activity.
Right.
As such, government is not making any CSR activity because we run all the welfare activities on the part of the government. So there doesn't have to be any separate CSR from us.
Right.
But as regards quantification from the industry to the handloom sector, that is not really, it has never been quantified in fact.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you, Santosh ji. We have Mamta Jain asking a question towards NHDC. So Mudita ji, I'd request you to help answer this one. What has NHDC and organization done around handling fabric waste generated in the value chain? Is there a report or a research on waste generated in the textile industry?
Yes, Ajay, the mills that produce the yarn, they are not very big units. Usually, they are very small MSME units. So wherever it is a biodegradable fabric, it is very easy. However, for the blended fabrics, still studies are on. There have been studies also that how we can go ahead and take up a sustained effort so that the especially with the dyed chemicals and dyed yarns, how we go ahead and take care of the waste and take care of the environment also. The process is on.
Is there?
However, for biodegradable waste, there is not much of an issue.
Right.
Even at a local level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is understandable. Thank you, Mudita ji. Simone Habib is saying, how can we get to know about the authenticity of fabrics? can somebody share a list of weavers with whom we can connect? Is NHTC or CPC or anybody maintaining a log of weavers that we can help with?
इनफैक्ट आंचल जी आज ही एक माई गॉव पे हम लोगों ने एक डिटेल लिस्ट ये की है हमारे सारे बुनकरों की,
Right.
और इसके साथ साथ ये जो हमारी handlooms.nic.in है और हमारा जो पोर्टल ऑर्गेनाइज आज इनॉग्रेट हुआ है, दे आर ऑल हैविंग अ लिस्ट along with the products. वो लिस्ट ऑफ वीवर्स है करीब 650 लोगों की है. It is more than 650 weavers from different parts of the country. It has been compiled with great difficulty by some of our officers,
right,
and that needs to be popularized. तो उसमें न केवल हमारे वीवर्स हैं, वीवर्स के प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, और उनको कहाँ से किसको कांटेक्ट करना, all the details are there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
वो हमारी साइट पे है, माईगॉव की साइट पे है, और हमारे पोर्टल पर भी उपलब्ध होंगे.
सर, कैन आई रिक्वेस्ट यू कि अगर चैट में आप सारे व्यूअर्स के लिए अपनी वेबसाइट का एड्रेस पिंग इन कर दें, then they can probably copy it down. If you could just put it on the chat. Thank you. Simone, I hope that answers your question here. Then Sandra Walker is saying, this is because it is getting so complicated to import from India. Sandra, I'm not quite sure I understand this question, because until we understand what is exactly the complication with import in India, I don't think any of the panelists are equipped to. You want to say something on that?
So I did respond to her. She also wanted why is the GST has added to the cost. I did respond to her earlier.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because generally the government is working towards removing all the export restrictions. So it should not be a bothersome thing to export from India or to import into your nation. So we look forward to some more suggestions from your side to take up the question.
And GST really won't impact our exports really, because all the taxes are not exported really.
Absolutely.
So it not impact her pricing at her end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Only the BA pays the taxes though, the GST. sorry. That was off the cuff.
Anna Hirani says, sadly, artisans don't realize the value of their craft and often underprice what they make. That is very true, really. Is there anyone who trains them on pricing and how they can attach a true value to their work? Mudita ji, Santosh ji, anybody would like to? Mudita ji, yes, thank you.
I think this is the thread that Santosh ji had also said earlier. Just like a weaver, the artisan is very contented with what he is having. He's not rooting for a very high price. So that it needs to be understood. It is his livelihood. It is not something he segregates from his day-to-day life.
That's right.
So that makes a lot of difference when we say that that an artisan does not value his product. Would be like a very misstatement, a very big misstatement, because that's his livelihood on which his breath is running. So yes. I think what we need to do is brand him and make him more, strengthen him. And in that area only, that empowerment through producer companies, through giving him more marketing thing, empowering him in all areas, be it training, be it accounts, be it his management, that is being tried.
Mudita ji, very true. You know, it's a fact of life. उनकी needs छोटी हैं, तो वो अपने ऊपर उतना ही पैक करते हैं जितनी उनकी needs हैं. If the same thing goes to a very big exporter, it will become 20 times the price, because that's where he perceives himself. So it's more about, you know, how we perceive ourselves and how we price it down. So absolutely, that is a very good point, very well put point.
In fact, if I can intervene, this forum is a very good place to say this. From the buyer side and exporter side, yes. Their hand needs to be held.
Yes, certainly. We need to brand ourselves.
Yes.
Get more price for them.
Yes.
Absolutely. Agreed. Thank you.
That we grow and they grow.
They grow.
Absolutely. And they need to grow, because if they don't grow, the industry is going to any which ways vanish.
Decline.
It will start to happen now.
No, it won't. Anchal, you need to start buying.
Rohini ji is asking, in the view of the decline of handloom export, is the decline compensated by the domestic offtake? Is anybody able to take this question up?
It depends. If khadi is growing, I believe handloom is growing. I don't have the numbers from khadi. You maybe Santosh ji or Mudita ji would have those numbers from KVIC. If they are growing, then I believe the local.
Khadi is growing and handloom also is growing, but whether the weaver is getting the benefit, we just don't know.
Correct.
So, yes, because actually you only said earlier that you have a master weaver who controls so many weavers. That used to happen. I remember in Salem Annie Road, we used to offload the yarn at one place, and we used to collect the fabric back from the same weaver. He used to give it out.
Right.
Basically,
all humans indulge in mind games. What exactly happens in the field? There is a distress sale.
Yeah.
एक सब्जी वाले से आप सब्जी खरीद रहे हो तो पहला 5 किलो वो बेचेगा 50 रुपए में, अगले 5 किलो बेचेगा वो 15 रुपए में, और लास्ट का बोलेगा औने पौने जिसमें भी.
हाँ जी.
Buyers are willing to wait till the point of distress, then he will sell his product at any which cost and move away. कि ठीक है, आज की रोटी हो गई.
Correct. Correct.
So the subjugation for the past 70 years has made them, the poor guys, they don't want anything more. As you just said earlier, they are so satisfied. It's not a matter of being satisfied. They've been subjugated so much.
Yeah,
they think this is the best price. End of story.
In fact, to answer this furthermore, I was reading up on statistics which do say that the production of overall handloom has increased in India. It is only that the export sector is declining, but the production of handloom has not declined. So obviously, I'm sure that this is being domestically compensated. She in fact has another very interesting question which says, how do you protect the heirloom qualities of our artisans, notwithstanding export business? She beseeches the government to establish an artisan knowledge library and classes to protect our heritage without the anxiety of making money by the weavers. Is the government giving a handsome stipend to artisans to protect our heritage? So Rohini ji, I would say in this, a part of your question has already been answered when you were talking about the artisan knowledge library. So as Santosh ji said that they're already updating information about the weavers on their website. So that is already being done. Would anybody on the panel like
one small thing? We have time for one last question.
Sure.
You can one, and then we'll go to the vote of thanks by Mr. Dhingra.
Absolutely. So would anybody like to take this up, whether the government is giving a handsome stipend to the weaver to be able to hold himself back with India? I mean, back into the business, not with India.
Stipend is a very, very dicey thing. Everybody is interested in taking the stipend, but not doing the job.
Correct. You know, that's true.
So we have tried paying stipend to different set of designers in the field, and we have failed miserably to get the results. Many of them don't even bother to visit their fields, let take part the training and create new designs. So
Correct.
The people who earn their living out of the sector, they must be honest enough, at least in their heart, to cater to the sector to the extent it is benefiting them, if not more. So it is a matter of commitment. If that is lacking, then it is a difficult question to answer, whether that particular stipend is going to help or not going to help. So far, the signs haven't been encouraging.
I can agree with you, Santosh ji, on this. It's a very common mentality of complacency. अगर पैसा आ रहा है तो कुछ भी काम करेंगे. But पैसा ज़्यादा कमाने के लिए अच्छा काम करेंगे, वो उतना अभी there is not that drive in people to do more, to earn more. So you're totally right on that.
Ajay, one small thing. We have Mr. B.S. Mubarak. His Excellency Ambassador of India from Guatemala. He's also in the participant list. We welcome you, sir. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ravaji. Thank you. Okay, last question for the day. Radesh Dudhani ji is asking, we've seen the quantum of export in the handloom field, but do we have any data on cost of material, labor, training, and percentage profit? Do we have artisan or company who can deliver the products as per client's demand? Rajesh ji, as per client's demand, totally depends upon who really is the client. Is he a wholesaler, a retailer, an individual person? We really don't know what the question here is. So unfortunately, we won't be able to answer this one. In terms of data on cost of material, labor, training, and percentage, there's a lot of data available online on HEPC's website and through different portals, even when you Google them. Santoshi, is there any particular reference that you would like to give them for this data?
It's not readily available with me, but if you've got any particular system of disseminating information, then I can get that information and I'll share it with you.
Great. So please do share your question with Santoshi offline and he would help you with the same. A lot of participants have been asking whether our webinar is going to be uploaded and how can they get the presentation. So, Hanji Rawatji.
One sec. Now, if any question which is left and the participant want to ask from Santoshi or Mudita ji, they can send it to us at trade@epch.com. If we do not answer any question which you think should have been answered, you can write into us at trade@epch.com. We'll send you the answers. We'll get the answers from Santoshi or Mudita ji or anyone else, any other panelists, and we'll send it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. In fact, on similar grounds, a lot of people have also asked that they would like the presentation of the webinar today. So the entire webinar will be uploaded on EPCH and also on the YouTube channel of BA and on the social media. Please connect with us on the social media. If anybody particularly wants the presentation for BA, please contact us at info@ba.org.in so that we can send across the presentation to you. Rajesh, that's all from my side. Would you please take this up now?
Yeah, thank you, Achalji. Thank you very much. And thank you all the panelists for taking time and answering to all those questions which have been posed to us by a lot of participants who have joined us today. Now to conclude, may I request Mr. Vishal Dhingra, who's the Chairman, Buying Agents Association, to give a vote of thanks and then we'll conclude. Mr. Dhingra.
Sure. Thank you, Rao, sir. I really don't want the evening to end because it was such an interesting conversation. But I believe I see everybody sitting in office. I'm sitting at home. So yes, a word of thanks and vote of thanks from all of us at the Buying Agent Association. And also for the EPCH for organizing such a fantastic webinar today. And Ravi sir, I haven't spoken to you in a long time, but thank you very much for the webinar. And Santosh sir, I'll take you up and Mudita ji sometime once we are free from the COVID situation. We can do a lot for the all the weavers and everybody. We can certainly do a lot.
नहीं मैं एक लास्ट धिंगरा साहब एक चीज कहूँगा कि बेटर होता है कि ज़्यादा सुनना, क्योंकि ज़्यादा सुनने से आप लर्न करते हो ज़्यादा, क्योंकि आप सब बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सपीरियंस्ड हो, मगर हमें जो अपनी लाइफ देखी है, अगर वो भी एक हिस्ट्री थी, हम फार्मिंग करते थे और फार्मिंग करते करते आज हम यहाँ पे आए हैं और कहाँ से क्या हमारी बैकग्राउंड है। आप ये सोचो कि हम एक छोटे से कारीगर जो हैंडलूम वाले उससे भी बस थे। खेती में कुछ नहीं बचता, खेती कर लो जितनी मर्जी, यहाँ पे काफी लोगों की जिनके पेरेंट्स वगैरह खेती करते रहे हैं, फार्मिंग करते रहे हैं, उसमें कुछ नहीं बचता आदमी को। फिर आदमी क्या करता है, मुझे याद है कि हमारी फार्मिंग थी, हमारे खेत थे कुरुक्षेत्र में, तो मैंने एक फुलकारी की चद्दर बनती हुई देखी वहां पे, तो मेरा मन लगा यार ये बनाते कैसे हैं। उन्होंने सिर्फ दोपहर के अंदर बजाय सोने के अपना क्या धागे वागे जो अवेलेबल थे करके और 2 दिन के अंदर एक चद्दर बना दी। चद्दर तो ठीक है मेहनत थी, मगर कमी क्या थी उसके अंदर, डिजाइनिंग कलर की कमी थी। फिर मैं उनके पास गया, मैंने कहा बात सुनो, अगर पंजाब में ये बन सकती है तो हरियाणा में क्यों नहीं बन सकती। एंड वी ड्वेल्ट इन ए स्मॉल विलेज। आज भी पॉपुलेशन 150 है, तो हम वहां से जुड़े हुए हैं। अभी मैं कई चीजें सुन भी रहा था, देख भी रहा था, ये बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है बेसिकली। अगर आप हैंडलूम की बात करें, रियल हैंडलूम के अंदर आए तो प्रोडक्शन नहीं है। फिर हुआ क्या, उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट ने इनको थोड़े पैसे दिए, ठीक है जी आप ऐसे करो, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाने के लिए उन्होंने सेमी पावर लूम लगा दी। फिर उन्होंने बोला हो ये तो सही कमाई का ढंग है, तो पूरी पावर लूम लगा दी। अगर आप जाएं, मगर आज जो हमारी डेवलपमेंट की बात हो रही है कि वो इसलिए हो रही है, हम 100% हैंडलूम के ऊपर आए। भाई हैंडलूम में वीवर्स हैं, वीवर पैसा कैसे कमाए, एक्सपोर्टर पैसा कमा जाता है, उसको 15 रुपए का एक मैट मिलता है और पता चलता है वो 50 रुपए में बेच रहा है। how they get the money? These poor, वो तो बेचारे
और गरीब हो जाता है.
poor हो गए, धागा खराब हो गया बारिश के अंदर. So these are the things also. मैं नहीं बोलना चाह रहा था, दीगड़ा साहब आपने थोड़ा सा मुझे उत्साहित किया कि
नहीं
मैं
सर, नहीं
बोल ही
जरूर.
दूं क्योंकि बेसिक अगर ग्राउंड के अंदर जाओ बड़ी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. और मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, जब अर्लियर आई वाज ए चेयरमैन of EPCH in 92 also, 2000, 99 and 2003. तो मेरे को याद है कि हम लोग अगरतला गए थे. अगरतला में एक सोसाइटी को डेवलपमेंट कमिश्नर ऑफिस से काफी फंडिंग मिली थी. और हमने उस बंदे को देखा कि भाई ये सोसाइटी है कहाँ. जब सोसाइटी को हम देखने गए तो वो बंदे सारे गायब थे और उनके बाहर भीड़ लगी हुई थी. सर ये हमारे ये पैसे, हमारे से ये सामान ले लिया, ये ले लिया, वो ले लिया. देन वी कंप्लेन टू द डेवलपमेंट कमिश्नर. तो उन्होंने बोला भैया ये थोड़ा सा कम कर दो, ये हिसाब किताब ठीक नहीं है. क्योंकि सोसाइटीज वाले ही इन लोगों का बिल्कुल खून पसीना चूस जाते हैं. तो हमें ये देखना है कि इनको हम कैसे आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं. ये हमारा मेन मुद्दा है आज का हैंडलूम सेक्टर का. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you very much. Vishal ji, you want to add something?
No, again, thank you, and thank you to everybody. Thank you to the people, and thank you to Mr. Mubarak coming in all the way from Guatemala, right?
Yeah, he's our ambassador in Guatemala. He has been
Jai Hind in Guatemala, sir.
participating in all our webinars.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. So thank you again, team. Thank you, everybody, basically logging in, all the members. And Santosh sir and Mudita ma'am and Chandrasekhan sir, you owe me a support. I will come over there with some murku from you. And we will have some good time in Karur, sir. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.